I'm your host, Liam Nitis, along with my friends Flaming Mango, which aka Colin, and also my other friend Deathwatch, aka David. Our topic for this week is going to be strategy games, and we will be talking about some of our favorite games in that category, and comparing basically the differences and the similarities. All right, just to switch it up a little bit, we're actually having Deathwatch go first, aka David.
Okay. So this is strategy games, right?
Yep.
Alright, so this one I also
Okay.
don't know if you guys have heard of. Have you guys heard of a game called Minute?
Minute, no.
M-I-N-T. M-I-N-I-T. Alright. So honestly, not your typical strategy game. Basically, you are a character in kind of like a 2D old school Legend of Zelda type game, right?
Okay. So like,
And you have 60 seconds per life. You have unlimited lives and unlimited resets, but you only have 1 minute to complete whatever task you're trying to do. And there's like a whole story that you have to get through.
so how many lives do you usually get per like level
You
or
get it. You get
thing?
infinite. It's not. It's like one open world thing that you have to like. I think the whole premise is like there's a factory that you have to like stop from polluting something, or you have a sword. You have a sword that kills you every 60 seconds. Is what you pick up at the beginning. The factory worker's like, "Hey, you need to return that to the factory. That's the only way you can destroy it," kind of thing, and defeat the
Ah,
factory person.
jeez.
So you're spending you die every 60 seconds, but you have to complete a bunch of different tasks, like literally waiting in front of an old man for an entire life is one of them.
So
So
just right in front of old man.
yeah, you basically walk up and you talk to him, and his whole speech takes a full 60, like it takes like 57 seconds, but then it completes that like task, so you can then do
Oh, okay.
his
So
like
it's like
thing.
gathering information that life and then coming
Yeah.
back to it. Okay, that's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah. So definitely not like a strategy game you'd think of to begin with, but I feel there's a lot of strategy in how you can complete each part, like where you go to first, what you talk to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a interesting take on like how you like what restricts you from playing the game, not just like currency or anything or like there's no like walls that you have to get around. It's you actually have a time frame that you need to do everything in.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great. I discovered it through a YouTuber, I don't even remember when, back in high school, and
That's
I
awesome.
finally bought it off a Steam sale. I had a lot of fun played through the entire game. I played through it a couple times just because it's a good little challenge.
A game called Four Swords. It's a Zelda game, a Zelda Four Swords or something like that.
Yeah,
Where
yeah, I played
the
that one.
the
Yeah.
the Four Swords splits Link into four different people, and well, four of the same person, just four of them, and they're all different colors. And like basically you can either play multiplayer or you can switch between them and like make them do different things and have them like stand on a button, and then the other guy goes up onto like a ledge or something. But yeah, it's the same kind of like idea of like you're helping your own self. Past that, I'm gonna do mine now. Yours is really cool. What was the name of it again?
Minute, M-I-N-I-T.
Minute. That's okay. That's a good one. I picked kind of just almost like a category in strategy games. I picked the Portal genre just because
Uh-huh.
it's
Fair.
like the generic strategy game that I freaking love. All of all of the franchise is just fantastic, from like all the weird stuff about the companion cube and how it's like maybe mashed up people, maybe not. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. Obviously, it's a geometrical like solve this like get out of the room kind of escape room puzzles and different things, or like get an objective. You guys, I mean, I'm sure you guys know a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
Um, just because it is Portal. One of my favorite things is how like witty the side characters are in that. Well, side characters. There's really just two characters. It's like Dolores and what's his name, the little robot dude.
Wheatley.
Yeah, Wheatley. That's it. Oops.
Yeah,
Dopamine name.
that's such a good
I
character.
think my audio should be fixed now. But anyway, yes. Is it? You mean Gladys?
Gladys. That's it. I knew it was like an old timey
Yeah.
English name. Dolores.
Dolores. Hey, Dolores could have been it.
Colin, yeah,
What?
yeah, it's fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
fixed.
Alright, cool. Fix
Yeah.
that problem.
Yeah, the Portal series is definitely one of the first ones I actually got into when I got like any form of laptop. I had a ton of fun playing through all the levels, and you're right, the side characters make a lot of the game with the witty comments and banter they have. Cave Johnson, I love his like quotes from him. Just they let
That's
free.
that's J. Jonah Jameson. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. The guy who plays him. Why can't I remember his name? And yeah, I mean, I bought Portal 2 in 2011 or 2012, I think. And then I literally only finished it last year because of how little I played it. Not of like lack of interest or anything.
Okay.
But I was so happy that I finished it because honestly, those are the type of games, especially Portal specifically, well-designed puzzle games. When you complete a level you've been working on for like an hour, you're like, it either makes you feel really good. The games have the opportunity to either make you feel really good about yourself, like, oh man, I'm so fucking smart, or just like destroy you, and you're just like, oh my god, like I could have done that the whole time. Are you kidding me? Especially going back to it, like you forget some of the features or some of the like the abilities that you're supposed to know how to do already, and you're like, oh, if only I had remembered that. No, I never played 1 though, but I hear it was.
I've played all of them. I played 2 with my brother actually. 2 is a little bit different than the first one. Obviously, it follows the robots versus the human subjects. Well,
No,
there's
I mean,
a whole
the main character is still a human.
Well, no, they're subjects. They're like
well, I mean,
forced into it, but not really forced into it.
Quote unquote forced into it.
Quote unquote, exactly. But yeah, my favorite part of that game is actually how they incorporate splitting the portal gun into 2 different people. So Graham's the orange one and I'm the blue one, so you have to really coordinate well. And I actually remember going into Best Buy and grabbing the second Portal game because I was going to buy the new Call of Duty, and it was back in the days before Amazon, and I was like, I go up to the register buying Call of Duty. I'm like, yeah, I want this. It's like, oh, she's like $60, and I need to see your ID. I'm like, why do you need to see my ID? She's like, oh, it's rated R, and I'm like, I completely forgot that existed at all, just because I was playing like R games from like when I was like 10. So I had to go back and grab Portal 2, which I actually glad I did because it was a wonderful game.
And one of the most is, I don't think this is particularly a spoiler based on how old the game is. Everyone should go play it. It's a great time.
Yes, I agree.
I haven't played a lot of the multiplayer like you were talking about, Liam, but I think
really
that does sound
honestly.
fun. The way
Colin,
they do.
You want to run through it with me?
Dude, maybe. I do own it.
It's split screen only, I think.
No, I think you can play online.
I think you can do it online now. No, it's.
I think the issue when I tried to do it was you couldn't do split screen actually.
Oh, mine was couch co-op.
I mean, maybe it was on a
my
console.
My brother was next to me.
On a console. Jeez. Oh, the boss battle at the very end. The way, like, it's a very because it's a puzzle centric game.
Yeah.
When you hear the word boss battle, you're like, how the hell would you ever do that? But they did it very well. And the ending is insane.
100%. I also really like the second one when you're going through like how disheveled the whole environment is.
Falling apart.
Yeah, everything.
The very beginning. Is just incredible to see.
No, definitely, and it really talks to how well Valve can develop a game when they actually want to. Uh,
What
and
a
and
scathing
and not
review.
take like straight up 10 years to put a sequel together. Alright, I think we're ready for the third one, Colin.
Yeah,
Yep.
as per usual, I have two. Which is a lot less exciting than last week because this is probably the genre I play probably the least out of all of them. Um, just because I mean specifically real time strategy, just like especially Civ. I guess that's technically real time strategy. I'm not that into Civ,
Civ
honestly.
is not RTS.
It's not.
It's turn based, so it takes
Um,
out the real time.
would that do you think that would still fall under the genre that we're talking about today?
Yeah,
Okay.
strategy game, hell yeah.
I'm just really not
I
that
still
into
do
that. That
prefer
to me,
strategy.
it takes too long, and there's not enough action. Which makes me sound like somebody who's a real COD player, but I'm not. I mean, we do play a lot of Valorant for the exact reason that it's quick, things happen quickly, there's a lot going on. Civ, I feel
So
like you're just sitting there, and it's like, oh, okay, well, let me do this. It's like, I feel like if I would have any interest in it, it's very far into the game, and I've never gotten that far.
so I would actually like you to check out RTSs like
Like
StarCraft.
StarCraft.
Yeah, you would much prefer them. Civ 6 is a lot slower than actual RTS.
Yeah,
Because there are turns and like you have to wait for the other person to take their turn. In an RTS, they can just do nothing if they want to do nothing,
yeah.
but you can continue to do stuff
So
every second.
on that note, the first one that I chose, is the Total War series. The one that I have is like Total War Celtic Kings or something like that. It's in my Steam library. I don't know why I bought it.
Total
It
War.
just seemed interesting to me. It's kind of a combination of that Civ type thing and an RTS, where whereas Civ combat is essentially just like here's two minifigures fighting each other essentially on the map, and whoever has the most whatever. I don't remember. I haven't played Civ in a while. Whereas with Total War, I think that's what it is. You actually have to do the battles. Now you can always like with all I'm sure RTSs most of the time. Like what comes to mind is Galactic Conquest in Battlefront, the original ones. You can like skip the battle and just be like, do it for me. Just like computer figure out who wins essentially, randomly do it. Versus like you actually getting in there and trying to do it. So it's a combination of the two. So like the actual battles are what I would call RTS, which is you select your troops, you send them here, you send them
Yes.
there.
Yeah, that's very much RTS.
And then the Civ aspects are you go and you choose where you're going to conquer, you make new settlements, you have diplomacy with other nations.
That's cool.
And then the name of the other one, I need to bring up my sticky notes again. XCOM 2.
I've never played any of the
I just kind of like one of
games.
my favorite things in video games is customization. I mean that's the reason I'm gonna get some dirty looks here. That's the reason I liked Brink so much. Brink is a well-known joke. I don't know why, but I actually really enjoyed that game. It was like a Call of Duty type shooter. And it was like kind of late PS3. So yeah, because we had a PS3 in my house for a while before we got a PS4. Yeah. So yeah, so I played that a lot, and I like the customization, and that's why I like XCOM, is because there's a lot of customization. You can like, I always like make a character that's like supposed to be me, and he's like a real badass. He's got like a machete or something. The main issue,
I'm a badass.
I mean, exactly. The main issue to me with all like strategy type games is sometimes they're just hard. And I play video games to have fun. And when I'm getting my ass kicked and I'm just like, well, this is cool. It's like, I mean, when I hit a wall, I'm like, well, I'm done playing. So that's why I haven't played XCOM 2 in probably 5 years. It's because I was like, I can't beat this one level. I'm just going to give up.
What is XCOM? Is it like tower defense? Or
so, it's kind of... I'm trying to find if there's a game to compare it. Essentially, it's kind of like it's a little like Warhammer, Like that type of board. So like you have a set distance that you can move, right? And you have your different team members. You can select where you're going to send them, and then you can either be like, oh, I'm going to put my sniper on Overwatch. It's a lot like D&D, where you have different abilities, you have different classes that you can run. But you can be like, this person's going to watch, and if anybody moves within the line of sight, they're gonna attack. And so you're obviously different. People have different percent chances. You can have a healer with a drone. That's one of their abilities. And then you can just kind of upgrade them at your base, and then there is a storyline where essentially aliens have taken over, and you're trying to eradicate them essentially. The plot line of XCOM, the original one, is you fight them, and at the end of the story, you obviously you want to win, and that's how the story resolves itself. XCOM 2 picks up essentially saying, listen, that first game we know you won because you beat it. We actually lost. So the world has been taken over. Yeah. And now you're essentially fighting
rebels.
Exactly. Now you're rebels instead of being like, we're fighting off invaders. No, you're fighting off like a government, essentially.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. That's really cool. So that's almost like space age chess, almost like 4D chess.
Yeah, a little bit. That's one of the most annoying things about it though is the percent chance, right? Where you're like, you're like 2 or 3 spaces away from an alien, and you hit fire with like a shotgun, and you like miss. And you're like, what? And you like, especially when you're on like the easiest setting, you're like, what the hell was that? Like,
yeah, that's a good.
It's also sad when people die. You're like, oh man, I lost my teammate.
I liked her.
Exactly.
No.
But there's a lot of cool mechanics, like the running around is pretty cool. You have different classes. There's like rangers who are kind of multi-purpose, but also have just like a slash attack with their machete. And then you've got like snipers who like have like a dead eye ability where they just are really accurate with a pistol. And then you've got like grenades and stuff. So it's very tactical. I haven't played any other video games that are like really easy to compare. The best I can do is like D&D or Warrior, those kind of like those type of board games where it's like
free
yeah, you have there's a strategy that you're trying to defeat the enemies, and like they can detect you, and like you try to be undetected for a while, and then they'll detect you and you'll be like, oh damn, they got me. And some of the most interesting gameplay is when you're essentially like defusing a bomb or you're hacking something, and it's like this will take 6 turns to do, and you're like, okay, so I just need to like protect this person or just fend off these people for a while. It's interesting.
So are the aliens like specifically just trying to take over the Earth for basically anything else?
So I'm not entirely sure, honestly, on the on a lot of this storyline. Liam,
you guys are muted.
We are. Go to. Sorry, I may have steered you wrong here, Liam. Go back to your tracks settings for the recording.
You bastard.
Yeah, I may have fucked us.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I thought I knew how to do it. We'll have to piece it together somehow.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm sorry.
You've ruined it. Is that better, sir?
Yes, it should be working.
Hello, and thank you for showing up. Okay, can you hear us now?
Off to a phenomenal start. We're 18 minutes in.
I'm gonna beat you.
So there goes 17 minutes of content.
Swear to God. 17 minutes of content. Woo!
So essentially
cool.
There's like a hierarchy to the aliens, right? So there's like commanders who are going to be better. There's like they're called like faceless something or whatever that'll just kick your ass.
I think my question was, what's the like?
Why are they doing it?
We're talking about XCOM right now, and what's the driving force behind the aliens?
I honestly haven't played enough of the game to know. I didn't play any of the first game, so I'm like, oh, you lost, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I guess they just like Earth a lot. I don't.
Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll make it up. They're taking your resources.
Yeah. Their planet dead.
They probably are. What other reason are aliens on Earth?
That's very true.
Besides galactic conquest.
Why else would aliens want Earth?
Resources.
For the resources we barely take. Apparently, it is aliens here, and they want to take over Earth for resources. Okay, yeah. So you guessed correctly.
Woo! But yeah, my pick was Portal. I know you guys may have been jumbled with the audio with that one. Um, but yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Portal to just catch you guys back up because Colin.
I'm sorry.
Basically, what Portal is, it's a strategy game based on like um, getting over obstacles or like different tests or situations throughout a science laboratory called Aperture Labs or laboratory. And they're running you through these simulations to like obviously gather data, but there's an underlying tone of everybody's abandoned this laboratory and you're trying to almost escape these robots who've already like taken you into these tests. So you just got to do all the tests to be like, I'm free. So it's a lot of fun, and you obviously get to know the robots over the game. And the main mechanic in the game is the portal gun, which has two sides. Basically, it's an orange and a blue side. One side you place on one point, one on the other point, and it makes a one-dimensional portal to that point in space.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will
And then,
say there's Portal is interesting because I mean everyone thinking with portals. I don't know if this is true, but I feel like with Portal specifically, there's the ability like there's not usually like only one specific way to solve it. Generally, it's like kind of within the same realm, right? Where it's like, oh, you have to have these elements in order to solve the puzzle.
yes.
But there's a way like you can do some things differently.
So there's a lot of tricks with the gravity in that game.
Yeah.
So if since you can make infinite speed because you can put a portal at the top of the room and at the bottom of the room and have basically an infinite loop of you falling, and then you can shoot the wall and you get rocketed 100 miles going the other way. You can cheat a lot that way by like passing like buttons that you need to press or something like that, which they actually had you do a lot of in the second game because they realized you could do that.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting because the creators didn't expect the people that would use the game to play it in that way. So it was really interesting.
I think on that, that makes actually one of the games to watch glitchless speedruns on is very enjoyable because you get to see a lot of those crazy tactics that you just don't get to see in many other games, where people are just abusing this one simple mechanic that just
Yeah.
completely destroys the game, and that's common in speedrunning, but it's just so much
Oh,
more fun
100%.
and
Yeah.
for some reason.
Weird ass side topic. Have you ever seen Monkey Ball and seen it being like speed run?
No,
No.
actually I have. I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah.
It's freaky. It's like this game from like 2000 that has motion controls, and you're basically balancing a monkey in a ball, and like you can lean him forward, and he leans, and it starts going forward in game, and you're like trying to get to a finish line, and it's completely insane to see these speedrunners do it because they can like so you're controlling the geometry of the map in your motion control, so you can like hit the monkey ball like all the way out in space, and then it just finishes because you swing the finish line back around. And it's just like these
They're
wild
pretty
ass
wild.
rats, yeah.
So back to like strategy games. Do you, as I've discussed earlier, I don't really enjoy strategy games just because of the difficulty.
Yeah, I know.
Do you guys enjoy strategy games?
I personally
I think
really
that
like strategy games. They make me. I like going over an obstacle in games. I like almost like how Dark Souls. You have to learn the boss that you're fighting in the strategy game. You have to learn the mechanics. You have to see what you're dealing with, and if you can solve it, you can solve it. If you don't, you bang your head against it until it works.
so. I think I'm in a bit of the same boat. I don't like real time strategy games. Those kind of things that I kind of get a bit bored in those games, but I do enjoy more puzzle like strategy games, which brings me to my next point. Most people would consider Portal a puzzle game. with that, do you consider most puzzle games strategy games, Liam?
Um, Depends. So if a puzzle game's straight up like Portal, there's an objective, but it's not like a 2D puzzle. It's not like a Rubik's
Mhm.
cube that you can just solve.
No, yeah.
There's multiple elements to it. That's where you get strategy from just a puzzle.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at is when there's only one solution, that's a puzzle game to
That's
me.
a puzzle.
When there's you
like,
can think about it different
it-
ways. Each person
yeah.
may have a different approach. That's more of a puzzle / strategy game, kind of like Portal.
Yeah.
Well, no, I would
I
consider
see
that a strategy game because, like, even if you're going in the same direction, it might be from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that on a Rubik's cube, you're just breaking the pieces off.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic to go over and like look at the differences between our strategy games that we picked. I obviously picked a very linear one, and Colin picked a very sci-fi and like I wouldn't like almost chess-based one.
Yeah, I mean it's similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
With different movement type. I guess it would be turn-based combat.
Turn-based
Would be the
Okay.
way to describe that.
yeah.
And I think I'm more open. Like I think I really enjoyed Portal and another like puzzle. Like I guess we would just put puzzle and strategy together, even though that's not the genre. But
yeah. I mean, yeah.
another puzzle game that I really enjoyed and I haven't beaten was The Witness. And I beat Portal last year, and then I like went home for a break. And The Witness was like free on PlayStation, so I got or PS Plus or whatever. So I got it, and I was like. Because I was like, oh, I really enjoyed beating Portal. Of course, I'll play another puzzle game, and it's hard to play a lot of a puzzle game at once.
So would you? I have a question with you guys. Would you consider Tetris to be a puzzle game?
Ooh,
No.
Because
Tetris is Tetris. It is
So
undefinable.
Yeah, I partially agree with that, but also I kind of agree where Liam was going, where if there are multiple ways to do a certain thing, it's less a puzzle game and more a strategy game. I think Tetris, for most people in the world, consider it like a classic strategy game. Like there is a full strategy on how to beat or how to get really high scores on Tetris.
Yeah.
And like people who get really good at it can get really high scores. I think that really builds into a strategy game more than any puzzle game would.
I actually just remembered one of my other favorite strategy games, Fez. It's a kind of
I've heard of it.
less known
Yeah.
indie developer that made so it's a 2D world that you can rotate into a 3D. So it's 3D when you can rotate it only. So you can rotate the whole map and it'll change your position on the map. But like you'll stay in the same point in space,
Right.
but the map will rotate.
Interesting.
It's pretty. And then you go through this whole story of trying to find the 4D cube to get everything back to 3D.
Yeah. So on the early point of your choice of Portal, I assume you guys have heard of the game Superliminal.
It sounds familiar.
It's the game where you can pick up objects and make them bigger or smaller depending on how you look at them, and it's a whole like story game. I have been very intrigued on getting that game, and I really want to because it looks very entertaining. I watched a bit of a playthrough once, and it's very, very interesting. I feel it very much builds on Liam's point of it's a strategy game if you can't really like have one specific way of doing it. If you can do it however you kind of want to.
So yeah, I definitely think that's like a very mind trippy game, just like how it just uses perspective to almost change the sizes of objects, as you said.
Back to the Tetris comment.
Yeah, comment.
Because we've defined that as a strategy game now,
Yeah.
What is the Bejeweled type games? Bejeweled Blitz. Are those strategy games?
Candy Crush or something?
Yeah, are those strategy games or are those
I,
puzzle games?
I would consider that a phone game, and we don't talk about phone
We
games.
don't talk about okay.
I don't
Well,
think
hold on now.
mobile gamers are
Bejeweled
You
actually.
2
can play
was a
yeah,
computer game.
you can play any of those. You can play Candy Crush on a Windows computer.
You,
I
sh- you shouldn't.
well, I'm
Shame.
the original concept though, Liam, was a computer game. Of the original Bejeweled games were computer games. I think it falls under the same category how Tetris falls under strategy. That it continues to fall strategy wise, just because there is no one way to complete it. There are multiple ways to do it. Maybe one way is the best, but it's not. You have to do it that way.
I would agree. I would say it's like comparing chess to Connect Four. One you can play literally out of kindergarten. The other takes years to master.
What, Tetris?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Tetris-
I think anybody can play any game.
I mean, yeah.
Whether or not you can play competitively against other people is a large difference.
Yeah,
I learned how to play
competitive
chess when I was
is
probably
wild.
10, but I've never been able to play chess competitively. And I've
True.
probably never ever been able to play checkers competitively, except against the children I work with. I mean, listen, I am king of tic-tac-toe at work. I kick butt. I am so good at it. Yeah, exactly. Like I win 90% of the time, except when I make dumb mistakes.
They catch it.
Yeah, sometimes they catch me off guard.
Good.
But yeah, I think Bejeweled is probably a strategy game, because
Yeah,
I think anybody can play it, but to rack up like a ridiculous score. I mean, what would you consider Pac-Man to be?
Pac-Man?
Yeah, what's Pac-Man?
That is a strategy game.
That's a strategy game?
Yeah.
So I would highly consider Pac-Man to be a strategy game as well.
To be a
Just
strategy.
because of you can choose when to eat the fruit, to eat the ghosts, and then you have to get all the dots as well. And there's multiple different ways to do it, multiple different reasons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Harken to that point. What wouldn't be a strategy game at that point? What is the context of a strategy game?
I think this builds into our point we made last week, where it's really hard to genreize games into one particular category, because most games in some respect fall into
Multiple.
a category.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Valorant is a FPS game. However, there is strategy involved. Do we count that then as a strategy game? Not really, but it has strategy components to it.
I'd call Pac-Man more of a survival game. I mean, yeah, not in like the modern survival genre where there's all sorts of crafting and such.
We're talking about the 3 version.
Yeah. I think this doesn't make it any easier to define what isn't a strategy game, but I think a strategy game is something that, maybe that's not even true. Like practicing it, or just the more you play it and the more you do research, or the more you learn about the game, the better you will be at it, or the higher a score you the more you'll get out of it. Because Pac-Man, and again, coming back to the point, anybody can play any game, but to be competitive at it, you have to practice, and you have to develop a strategy as how you're gonna Pac-Man. I think there are solutions, right? Because there's people memorize solutions to Pac-Man.
I mean, yeah.
Are they always the same? I think there's probably different ways to beat it. But I think strategy games are you will have a unique approach to them. Maybe, I don't know, but that doesn't make it any easier to find it. So hell if I know.
Interesting genre than straight up comparing this to our last topic of RPGs. they're both actually quite broad
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
categories, which is why I'm actually excited for some of our other categories that we're going into. But to harken back to the strategy type games, what do you think is like a very, very well known strategy game, like one of the most top strategy games ever played?
Goodness, um, like not excluding what we've just discussed about like strategy games being like could be like literally anything, like a classical strategy game that like everybody knows. That's tough.
Would you like consider a board game also to be in that category?
Because if so, it'd be
Yes,
chess.
Yeah, it would be chess.
it would be
Honestly.
chess.
Or like Moncala or something like that. I forget the name of it.
I
love
think
that
it's
game.
interesting.
Oh, I was so good at Moncala.
Yeah, I like Moncala too. I'm gonna say only video games.
Only video games.
Yeah.
I think we'd still end up back at Tetris. It's literally, at least it was. I think it still is one of the best-selling game of all time.
So have you ever seen Tetris 99?
Yes.
I have it actually.
I also have it. It's
I do.
free with Switch Online.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
well,
is.
there you go. But I think that's a really interesting way to look at how you can almost play Tetris competitively, even though it's not a 1v1 type game or a versus type game.
Have you, hold on, Liam, have you seen the original competitive Tetris? How it works?
No, not at all.
It is basically 1v1 Tetris up until the last 1v1, where basically you and one other person take turns trying to get the highest score. I think you have like best of like you do like 3 games or something. I don't actually know how it works. I've only seen like clips of it, where you play and you try and get the highest score you can while the other person's playing, and it's kind of just who can get the better score out of their like all 3 of their games added up.
I think I once watched like the two top players, and it was like for some championship that I didn't know of. Mary Poppins very kindly found a very succinct distinction between puzzle and strategy games. A puzzle game requires you to provide an answer to a question. A strategy game requires you to figure out what the question is. Which is very obscure, and I can't get my head around that.
That's very philosophical.
Yeah.
So you're saying the puzzle is finding the answer and the strategy is finding the question.
So let's try and work this out in Portal. What is the question that we're trying to answer?
How do I get to that button?
Yeah.
How do I get to that button? Okay,
or
interesting.
How do I get the box to the
Okay, and then in the witness, another example, it would be how do I put power through these cables that are gonna unlock something? How do I unlock this door? Okay, a strategy game requires you to figure out what the question is. So let's go through the ones that we picked. So, Liam, we just did Portal. David, for Minute, what do you think what is the question?
I think it borders on like, how do I complete this task in my 60 seconds this life, or how can I complete it where I can do it next turn, or in like 5 turns. It's how do I do this in this time limit?
And so you're figuring out. Well, I think the question might always be, what is the best or what is the fastest way to do this in that game specifically?
Well, is the question how to like the overarching solution to the your story? So his would be how can I get the sword back to
The
the
factory, yeah.
And mine would be how can I get it out of this laboratory?
But then we're doing the same thing we did for puzzle games, right? Because we're asking what the question is. So we just asked what the question is for them. So what is? I'm so confused.
For puzzle games, it's what is the answer?
Right.
There is only one answer. However, it's back to what we originally said. Where strategy games, there are like 12 different ways to do it or hundreds of different ways to do it. Where in puzzle games, there is one way to do it. You have to do it this way or you don't complete it.
Okay. So I guess the question for most puzzle games would be, can you complete this? Or can you
Can you do it in more than one way?
No, it's can you solve this puzzle is the question that all puzzle games ask.
That's true, yeah.
Okay. For example, it's something like Civ or StarCraft, you're asking, what do I need to do to win?
True.
But those are strategy games, so that's what you're also.
But then those questions lead on to why is it the best way?
How you're gonna do that?
So in the puzzle game,
there's one way to.
So in the puzzle game it's
Yeah. So
good?
both have this overarching like question.
My brain hurts.
However, only strategy games have like branching questions from that initial question. Like you kind of got to think of it like a tree. In puzzle games, there is no tree. It's just a question. How do I do it? This is how it's done.
It's the Rubik's Cube. There's multiple. Yeah. I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
My brain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Obviously, we figured out puzzle games and strategy games are very
I think there's a lot of crossover.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how we are going to define them
is just if I get angry at it, it's probably one of those.
Yes. If I get angry at them, it's definitely one of those.
Because I mean, really, if you think about it, anything could be a strategy game.
Anything's a puzzle game.
Anything could like Valorant. I guess the figure out what the question is.
Okay.
The question is, can you kill all these people?
Well, see that's what I brought up in both this one and the last one is that they're very broad categories that we've gone into, where it's not easy to define what is and what is not because in some sense there is in all games.
Go into our topic of last week. You could technically role play in Valorant.
In Portal?
Valorant, bro.
Wait, is Portal a role playing game? Is the real question.
Again, you could if you wanted to.
Actually, harken back to StarCraft. That's another like huge game for me. I love the RTS genre. What?
Anytime you mention a game from now on, I'm just gonna be like, but what's the question? Just to mess with you. Just, Liam, what is the question that StarCraft is asking?
The question is, how many units can you make in amount of time, and how can you destroy your enemies?
How do I win?
What race are you? We got Zerg, Protoss.
You gotta pick.
But yeah, one of my favorite parts of that game is how fast a match can end or how long and outdrawn they can be. Because you can either make one base and send 6 units over and have the guys catch the guy with his pants down, or you can make like 6 different bases and have a fucking army battle in the middle. So it's really an interesting dynamic it has. Have you guys ever played any RTSs?
Other than that aspect of Total War, no.
Gotcha. Okay.
I definitely haven't.
I would like to play Totally Accurate Battle Simulator at some point.
That does look fun.
That sounds fun.
Totally Accurate.
Yes, it's just a ragdoll RTS essentially.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's interesting.
For a puzzler, there's at most 5 possible solutions to the problem. For strategy games, there's upwards of 100.
Stop trying to define me.
I think it's safe to assume that none of us have any idea how to define puzzles or strategy games. And it's just whatever you're feeling in the moment. So Steam is lying to you when it's trying to tell you it knows what a puzzle game is or what a strategy game is. Someone just made that up.
Everything's
I mean,
made
someone
up.
just made
It's all a
everything up.
lie.
I mean, let's rein it in a little bit.
Well,
Getting too existential.
well, genres are just little boxes that humans have drawn to put things in. Like,
And
this is a
humans
common
humans
problem.
humans are
Boy,
are made of little boxes called cells. It all goes together.
hey,
No.
What
Like,
about
really,
power?
we do have a problem where we want to genreize everything. We
I mean,
put
yeah.
history into little boxes. We put music into
yeah.
little boxes. Everything we put into boxes, they don't fit in boxes though.
What if I take that word boxes and replace it with circles?
Oh
You
man.
can do
Well,
that if
we're
you
not
want.
playing Minecraft anymore, son.
Probably in spherical world.
Who knew that strategy games were gonna be the death of me?
Apparently, jeez. So,
Jeez.
could you explain your pick, David, a little bit more? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fits kind of in a puzzle strategy type like genre, where you have different tasks you need to complete so you can get into and through the factory to beat the final boss. There are different things you have to do, and there are like 3 or 4 different places you can save where when you die, you respawn at.
Oh, so you can change your location.
Yeah, so you start out in your house. And the first thing you do is you just kind of wander around, but there's only one place to go to, and it's a little beach path.
This is a video
Black
game.
black and white 2D. Yeah. Wait, what?
It's a video game that's basically Groundhog Day.
Kind of, but faster paced.
Oh.
Interesting.
Where you then pick up the sword, and some guy comes up and he's like, "Did you pick up that sword?" And you're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, you're cursed now. You're gonna die every 60 seconds." And you're like, "What?" He's like, "Well, here's how you stop it." And then that's where you go from there.
Interesting. Well, I think we've delved quite a bit.
Now I have a question.
What?
You live forever. Okay. First of all, question about the game. Does time outside of you progress, or are you playing over the same 60 seconds?
So when you change something, it does revert back to how it was.
Okay.
So I think you're playing over the same 60
So it is
seconds,
okay. So it is Groundhog Day. Okay.
But time also does move along. Like if you complete certain tasks, they stay completed. Like in one section, you have to fill the hotel of all of its guests to unlock something. This is a weird game, I know.
Yeah, how do the things stay in the place that like?
I think it's more of like the enemies stay in place.
They're trapped with doing the same thing you are, and you're erasing them from existence.
Gotcha.
From all existence. My hypothetical question is, you can live forever, and time will progress normally, but you die every 60 seconds. So like you can have a normal life, you can have a wife, a girlfriend, you can have children, but every 60 seconds you die.
So how long does it take you to resurrect?
Once you die, you can press X and respawn instantly.
So it's instantaneous.
But you respawn back into either your house or like the 2 other places. You don't respawn where you died.
So that's the real problem. You'd have to live in the same spot or area.
So what I'm hearing is you'd have to work from home.
Yes.
But imagine what like your wife and your children would watch you die every 60 seconds. Is it like is it traumatic when you like is it like you just or do you literally just fall over and you're dead?
You kind of just like crumple onto the ground like you had a heart attack, and he's a little tiny like bean character with legs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like it's a black and white game. There's no real dramatics they can make.
Is this side scroller or top down?
Think Legend of Zelda.
Okay. So like kind of
Legend of Zelda, kind of side scroller.
Legend of Zelda has had side scroller.
I mean, it's had everything.
Think original Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
2D.
So like
walk around the map.
So original Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could think of it that way too.
Yeah. Okay. So top down.
But would you do that, Liam? you die every 60 seconds, but
So-
life goes on. And actually, I mean, I assume you would live a normal human life, or you're just immortal.
I think I would test it out for a couple days.
Well,
And then-
you can't. Sorry.
You have to choose different.
Yes.
choose one of them.
You don't
Okay.
you don't get a trial period. This isn't Spotify
No.
Premium.
Hey, okay. Well, they're not gonna catch me. I'm not gonna want it.
Okay. David,
That's how they
would
get
you do it?
I don't think I would, just because it would get kind of obnoxious to walk. Like, think of if you
I'd get
got up,
annoyed, yeah.
walk to the fridge, put on like, okay, interesting.
Rip Liam.
Whoa.
Now I'm on top.
Back to the kitchen. Then you have to walk all the way back to the kitchen.
I think my thing just.
Yeah, it would just be annoying because you just die all the time.
Yeah.
What was that? That was weird.
Welcome
1 second,
back.
boys. Yeah.
We've been plagued by some technical difficulties this week.
I will say
today,
mine
too.
were caused by Steam games downloading in the background. That I thought I paused.
Classic.
Oh,
I once was
just-
downloading GTA 5 while trying to play like a different game. I was like, man, why is this so bad? And I was like, oh,
There
it's
we
'cause I'm
go.
trying to download 60 gigabytes of data right now.
Should be better now. Okay, there we go. I'm back. And what were
Right
we?
in time to finish.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Whether or not you would take the deal to die every third, you would make a deal with the
Oh
devil.
yeah,
um,
definitely. Not. If it was gory, I think it would be more interesting.
I'd still say no.
okay, what
I
if
think it'd be
you
fun.
get
I think
get
it'd be
paid $1
fun.
million?
I don't
$1
think
million
that's worth it,
to kill
no.
myself.
No,
every
you don't kill. You don't have to, hey, hold on. You're not killing yourself. You're just dying.
Sorry, having a heart attack. every
Yeah, essentially. You're just dead.
Is it a
Yeah.
painful death?
I mean, a heart attack.
At a
yeah.
certain point, I imagine you don't feel pain anymore. Like,
I don't feel
if you're
pain.
if you're dying every minute for the rest of your life, you don't care about anything anymore.
I mean, isn't that just life?
Okay,
Man,
we are getting a
the
bit
most
existential
existential
in this episode.
podcast, and it's only the second episode.
It's all strategy games. That's all that's happened. What is strategy game?
Who knows, man? I'm gonna be on my deathbed, and I'm gonna say, I never found out what a strategy game was.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's gonna keep me up at night for the next week.
And,
I don't know.
Are you looking forward to any strategy games coming out anytime soon?
Again, as I've said many times this week, or specifically this evening, I don't really like strategy or puzzle games that much. I'll play them occasionally. Like, I beat Portal literally just because I was like, oh, it's in my Steam library, and it's been 10 years. But yeah, there's none that I can like specifically think of that are coming out soon that I would be excited for.
While it's already come out, I really do want to look into grabbing Superliminal. That just looks phenomenal, and it's a pretty recent it's a pretty recent one. It's not that recent, but it looks really interesting. It had very high reviews that I really want to check out.
I would enjoy a StarCraft 3 if they ever were to make it. I would immediately buy it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll have to look into StarCraft. I'll try anything once. That's my rule in life.
it's
I'll try
free.
anything once.
The
It's
base
free.
game's free,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe. Yeah.
Maybe I'll take a gander then.
I highly, highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite games. I've played it for years. But Portal edged it out just by a bit. But yeah, no, definitely check out StarCraft 2. They do have a couple expansions. It's Wings of the Liberty is the first installment. But then there's like a couple more. And that's our strategy episode of the Rat Chat. The strategy.
Oh, please never.
That's
make that
listen.
joke
That's
again.
what's that's what it's
100%
gonna be
give-
named.
Colin, kick him from the voice.
I
chat.
give all credit to Colin. He definitely made that up. And I'll catch you guys next week.
Well, hold on, Liam.
What?
Where can all those rats out there or all those
Oh.
mice out there find our podcast?
All y'all rats can definitely find our podcast on Spotify, Twitch, at my channel, and also Colin's, Flame Mango, Liam Nitus, And yeah, you can
It's
also
on
check
Apple
it on Apple
Podcasts?
Music, all wherever you find your podcast,
All
we
over the
will be
place.
on it. Anchor, basically anywhere. You can also catch me streaming sometimes on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Wednesdays I stream Valorant. Fridays I stream WoW with my rating guild. And yeah, if you want to plug your stuff, Colin, you can.
Oh, I'll be back Wednesday, Valorant Wednesday, as always. It's not spelled with a W; it's spelled with a V. We always have a great time. However many people show up. So please come out and do that. I think on my channel we're at 30 or 32 at this point or something. I don't know. It's a number, and we have that many followers. And the goal is to get to 50.
Yeah, it's
at some point.
Okay, and thank you guys for coming to the second episode of the Rat Chat, the strategy episode. Thank you, Flame Mango and Death Watch. Check out our next episode next Sunday at 9 p.m.